There we go. Now we're live.
Cool. Excellent. Oh, we hope.
Come on, everybody! It's Gibbon time!
I should stand up and do this. I should be wearing dungarees. I do have my Bill Oddie t-shirt, don't I?
How you do?
3 people are here. Hello.
Right, who is that? Hello. We're just going to present an hour of goodies records because I'll enjoy myself and nobody else will. Hey, hey, no, that's the monkeys.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. Do the funky Gibbon. Bill will be after royalties. You better stop this after about 30 seconds.
Hello.
Checks in the post, Bill.
Hello, Fiona.
Hello, Fiona. It's my sister, Fiona.
Yeah.
Jolly good. Right.
Shall I stop the
yes,
music?
he'll want money. Okay, right, yes, here we are. Over to you, Jem, my darling.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. Today is the goodies.
The complete goodies.
Oh, very, very exciting. Now, the reason for doing it this special week is because on Saturday,
Yes.
it celebrates its 20th birthday.
20 years ago, 23rd of May, it was published. The day before my 30th birthday. 20 years ago. Ooh, there you go. I'm actually 41. No, I'm not. So yeah, so it was great, and we did and ah about doing it, didn't we? Because of Tim, of course. But we love Tim dearly and miss him dreadfully. But you know, hey, his comedy lingers on.
I guess the first question we always kickstart with was, why did you write this book?
Because I love the goodies. I love the goodies. If you saw the YouTube videos just after Tim died, certainly the one after the day after it was announced. There's about a 10-minute sort of eulogy that I love them. I went through my sort of, so I was born in 1970, so I was born the year the goodies started. So my very first TV memories, I think, it's the goodies, and it's Tom Baker and Liz Sladen in Doctor Who, battling Cybermen. So I would have been about 4 or 5, I think, when I first saw them. And I just loved them. And I went through my adolescence, because, I mean, we'll get to this, but they weren't repeated for a long, long time. I still aren't repeated. So they were sort of forgotten men in terms of a comedy team. They're all three of them working all the time through the 80s and 90s and up to the present day. But I spent my sort of adolescent years just wanting to meet them and thank them for all the laughs. And now, well, the two are on speed dial. And Tim was as well, of course, but I'm not going to phone him, obviously.
How did you meet them, first of all?
I met Tim first because again, this was lost in the midst of time until I started looking into what I've got loads of posters. I saw Tim on stage so many times. He toured the country all the time. So I saw him in pantomime with my mate Rick's dad, Christopher Beanie, the late great Christopher Beanie, in Windsor in Aladdin. That would have been either December 97 or January 98, depending on when I went. But that panto season, and I met Tim, and I can read you what he said because all three of them wrote a forward for this book, and he mentions here that as I said, they weren't repeated, and Tim says here, didn't mean
Did you read it in one of your?
Yeah, I did do this. Yeah, he basically said, this is me. He's talking to about. He said he was doing a goodies book. I metaphorically patted him on the head and murmured something along the lines of "In your dreams, mate," because there was no way a goodies book was going to be published in 2000 because they weren't on TV. Unlike in Australia, they were on all the time in Australia and have been for the last 40 odd years. So I met Tim. And then I went to a recording of I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue in York, and he introduced me to Graham, and then Tim. It was always Tim. He was the most helpful. He's the most beautiful bloke. I mean, I've worked with a lot of heroes like Golden Simpson and Dave Freeman, and Tim was up there. He was so helpful in terms of what I was doing. So he loved comedy. So Tim gave me, I think, Bill Oddie's fax number. So long ago this is, 1998, I guess, or 99. And I faxed Bill, and he said, "Come round to my house." And I went round. And typical Bill, he's gloriously grumpy. Bill, you won't mind me saying that. I think we had a phone conversation. He said, "I can give you 10 minutes," and I was there for like 3 hours, and it was just brilliant. So I got a load of stuff recorded on tape, and it all went into the book pretty much, and that was it.
Do you want to just sit up slightly? If you saw
the
the YouTube channel today, you would have seen Rob.
Bill's animated flicks, that is, if you can't read it. This is from, I'm very passionate, if you do watch the YouTube films every day, very passionate about the Bristol slapstick. My dear friend Chris Daniels and his team are just brilliant, and I've worked every year for the last, 6 or 7 years, I think, and all the goodies supported it. And all three were there this year. Celebrating their 50th anniversary. Bill did a solo thing about his favourite cartoons, which this T-shirt comes from. So yeah, that's that story. But support the Bristol Slapstick. They've got their own YouTube channel. I do plug it, but support it, subscribe to it, because they've some great stuff, including last week the Robin Ince interview with Tim, Graham, and Bill, which is just a delight.
Okay, well, I'm going to kick us off with some questions.
Questions.
And let's start with the book launch. I'm going to start with this question from Fiona.
Who was there?
Which she says, I have fond memories of the launch of the book in May 2000 with you, Mum, Dad and David. What sort of memories do you have of the evening?
Oh, okay. It was so I can't tell you how excited I was. First of all, they agreed to do it was exciting. And it was just amazing. I mean, as I said, I was such a fan of them, and to get to know them as mates, and to take the National Film Theatre. Now, I don't know if you remember, but at that time, MoMI was part of it, the Museum of the Moving Image, and which is now NFT 3. That was the MoMI cinema, and we originally were put into there, which I think is about 100 seats or something, and that sold out in about 5 minutes. And then they put us into NFT 2, which is about 400 seats, and that sold out in about half an hour. And then they put us into the main house, NFT 1, which is about 900 seats, I think, and that sold out in about 2 hours. So I think people forget that because thankfully Tim, Graham and Bill in the intervening 20 years have done quite a lot of stuff together in terms of promoting the network DVDs and a lot of stuff for Bristol Slapstick and various other things. Graham and Tim took Edinburgh about 2004, 5, something like that. The three of them toured Australia, huge in Australia, so they did a lot of work together. But in 2000, May 23rd, 2000, they hadn't been on stage together, as far as I know, for about 10 or 12 years. So it was a big deal. I mean, it was I was so excited. And in the green room backstage, all three had signed my book to me personally. And we showed an episode, one of my favourite episodes, called Movies, where all three of them are making different films. Graham's doing a Western. What's Tim doing? Some Italian sort of romance. And Bill's doing a 1920s slapstick Buster Keaton film. And all three are sort of merging. It's brilliant. So we screened that at the National Film Theatre. What else? And I went out and introduced them in alphabetical order. So it's Tim first. And the applause was deafening as Tim came on. And I waited for it until he sat down. And then Graham Garden, and was going berserk. And then that was a good 15-20 seconds. Graham sat down, and Bill Oddie, and I mean, literally, it was like the roof had raised. It was deafening, and the three of them on stage, it was just incredible. So it was a last night of my 20s to remember forever.
Well, Gavin here asks a question. He says, "Is it true that the Goodies had a pact never to appear on This Is Your Life at one point?"
They didn't want to do it, but they did do it. I was at Bill's. Tim did it twice, I think, certainly once. So Bill wasn't very keen, and I mean, this is not talking out of school. I was in the studio at where was it? ITV. Was it Teddington? I forget now. London studios probably. and Bill nearly didn't come, so we're all sat there waiting for this thing to happen, and he nearly didn't do it. And I think it was Bonnie, his daughter, was saying, "Look, Dad, everybody's there. You've got to do it." You know, Michael Aspel's there with a big red book, and he finally did it. And the first two people that came on were Graham and Tim in Ecky Thump caps. So it was a great night. But yeah, that almost didn't happen. But it was oh God, we stopped a lot of wine going sour that night. I remember. Anyway.
And then there's a message here from Jen Govey, and she says,
Jen.
One of her earliest TV memories was The Giant Dougal.
Absolutely. Oh, great. Yeah, Goodies Rule OK. Well, I wrote a book called The Goodies Rule OK, which is a different book. If you think it's the same book, it's not. It's a completely different book. But yeah, that's great. That's a special. That's a 15-minute special. It's brilliant. I mean, because all the children's... That's the thing about the Goodies, because it's so nostalgic for kids of the 70s, because they reference stuff like Jaws and Star Wars and all the stuff that was the hot things at the time. So that episode that Jen mentions, Goodies Rule OK, with the Giant Dougal, has Bill and Ben in it as well. And I remember interviewing Bill at a Cult TV festival in 2000, just after we did the NFT actually. And he brought the house down again, saying one of his greatest, proudest moments was that episode gave him the opportunity to kick a womble in the nuts, because he got really miffed. I was going to swear then. He got really miffed to be compared. The Goodies records, we'll come to the records, I'm sure. But when the Goodies records were compared to the Wombles, because he said, I'm a proper song. Well, so's Mike Batt. But he got really annoyed that they were sort of bunched together, the Goodies and the Wombles. But so he had that chance to get his own back, and I think his uncle Bulgaria gets one in the aniseeds there.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, Andy's just actually pointed out, which was earlier, so I know you've just addressed this, but he said, is that a new cover because he's got the Goodies Rule OK
That's
book?
a different book. Yeah, absolutely. As far as I know, now, because I don't always get consulted, they sometimes do imprints and whatever. That's, as far as I know, the only cover for that book. Yeah, that one. Now, I must say, Tim was very, very pleased about it for this for two reasons. A, he's on there more than Graham and Bill. You'll find there's an extra Tim there. That wasn't intentional. That just happened to be. So there's three, and one extra Tim. And also, you see, this is from taken from the cover of their LP they did at Island Records, rather. Nothing to Do With Us. And Tim loved the fact that the twinkle, the giant kitten's footprints look like it gives him a sort of like a red clown nose. Can you see that? The Tim there, Tim loved the cover for that reason. So that's the only cover of that. The other book, this is 2000. The other Goodies book was Goodies Rule OK, which I think was around 2004, something like that. And that I think has been reprinted under a different title, like one of those book people imprint companies. And I don't think I've even got a copy of that version. But they're two different books. So this is an A to Z reference of all their work together and apart. And the Goodies Rule OK is mainly a lovely illustrated history of the Goodies, the show itself, pretty much.
Okay. Well, Mark Connor asks, he says, Kitten Kong,
Kitten Kong, yeah. Yes.
Kitten Kong or the Goodies and the Beanstalk, which is the best episode?
Goodies and the Beanstalk.
Okay.
Without doubt.
Okay, I'm just going to go down.
It's longer, for one thing.
Oh, so Chris Stratton's just pointing out that Bill Oddie's This Is Your Life is on YouTube.
Oh, great. You might spot me in the audience.
So there we go.
Lovely.
Might
I
have
must
to
watch
check that out.
I've got a copy somewhere, but I've not seen it. I don't think I ever saw it, actually, when it went out.
Okay, so your sister was saying that she still has her NFI ticket, seat D21.
National Film Theatre. Oh, what seat was she done? Seat what? D something?
Yeah, D21.
D21. It was part of a season. I did a couple. I also did something with the Legal Gentlemen guys as well that year for 2000. I think Barry Cryer did something. I can't remember. But it was a season called Send In the Clowns. And it was comedy on television. And the Goodies was my major thing. And my dear friend Dick Freddy, who I knew around about that time for the first time, asked me to do it as a launch for the book as well, which was lovely. And all three of the Goodies, I mean, my God, we were there for ages. There's pictures. My mate Rick Blackman was there, I think. He took some photographs of the four of us. Me dark-haired with a sort of rolled up like Miami Vice sort of jacket on, and looking like the cat that got the cream with the three Goodies. And we've all got beers, and there's a pile of books. And we were there, I think Fiona would remind me, because I was in a bit of a haze of euphoric pleasure. But I think we were signing books for something like 2 hours, and the queue was out the door. And I remember we were still signing, and Mark Gatiss had queued up to get his book signed. And I was like, oh, bloody hell, Mark. I would have been a bit more witty than just, hello, Mark, because I got so tired, wasn't even looking up anymore. And, yeah, so it was an amazing night. I loved it. I've got my book signed. I think Fiona got hers signed too. I'm pretty sure she did. She'll tell me.
Okay, so Chris Stratton says, I have copies of quite a few Aussie recordings of the Goodies from UK TV.
Yeah.
Which you got from a collector. Chris, are you based in Australia?
Is he based in Australia? Yeah, because, I mean, they are huge over there. I can't underestimate, or overestimate even, that's the right word. They are massive. They're I don't know, I can't think of a modern equivalent. And they're on all the time. Yeah, I mean, Tim's death obviously affected me hugely, but in Australia it was national news pretty much because he was on TV all the time. You know, his 70s version. But yeah.
Well, Chris goes on to ask, how did the Goodies get involved with Woolworth's TV ads?
They were paid to advertise Woolworths, basically. They weren't shy in taking commercials. They were happy to endorse things. Yeah, they didn't do it for fun. They did it for money.
Okay, going back to the book launch, Fiona asks, how hard was it to get all three of the Goodies together?
That's a great question. It took a long time. I mean, it took about a year and a half because they're really busy. I mean, they were always doing, particularly, all of them. Tim and Graham doing Clue, particularly on radio, and Bill doing his bird watching stuff, which was a genuine hobby that turned into a job. And as I say, they hadn't been together on stage. They were always stage friends, but they hadn't been on stage together for a long time because they thought, quite honestly, the Goodies in this country certainly had been forgotten, and who cared and who would come. I remember that was Bill's concern. He said, if we do it, what if no one comes apart from us four and we're sat there like lemons? I said, well, you know. He said, oh, Esther, we'll do it. And I remember him getting out of a cab, and there were literally hundreds of people outside the National Film Theatre waiting for it to start. He looked at me and goes, is that for us? I said, yep, that's for us. he said a rude word. Anyway.
Oh, dear. Okay, so Tim was also good in Me and My Girl.
Love that series. Richard O'Sullivan, absolutely, yeah. Well, Tim did quite a lot of sitcoms. He made fun of it. They did a radio show pre-Goodies called I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue. I'm sorry I read that again. Which was a sort of it's all three of them and John Cleese and a really funny radio show. And they did a 25th anniversary broadcast whenever that was, 1990 something, 94, 95. And there's a gag in it that basically Tim has been spent the last 20 years doing really bad sitcoms. Me and My Girl was a really good sitcom. I also liked You Must Be the Husband that he did on BBC with Diane Keane, where she's like a sort of salacious novelist and he's the husband. But Me and My Girl, I loved that show. Yeah, it was really, really good fun. And Tim was a brilliant farceur, though. He would tour with Ray Cooney and that sort of thing. So he loved all that. He was an old-time musical comedian, really. I think he told me he had a school report when he was probably about 13 or something, and his teacher was saying that, Timothy Julian Brooke-Taylor will never make an academic, but he will make a really good musical comedian. And that's what he was, really, pretty much.
Okay, Lane is here.
Hello,
and
Lane.
He asks, was there ever a chance of a big screen version?
It absolutely was. They were talking about doing a film. They did a book called The Making of the Goodies Disaster Movie, and that's where a lot of the script went into that book. It parodies the film industry, but a lot of the actual meat of that book is the script. Steven Spielberg was a fan. Now, this is the God's honest truth, because they ran it in America. I think PBS ran it, or one of the American syndicates had it on. And Steven Spielberg, probably stoned at 3 a.m, was, who are these guys? And he genuinely phoned the office or got hold of Bill or Bill's agent or somebody, and said, I want to direct a comedy, having done Star Wars and Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I want to do a comedy, and it was going to be a Goodies film. It's about 1978. He did a film called 1941 instead, a Second World War film, but that would have been the Goodies film. Not that script, but that slot in Spielberg's career would have been a Goodies film. And I've always maintained if they had made a film, they would have been remembered more on TV, because that film would have just come up every 3 or 4 years as a nice time filler on television. And then, as a result, the old episodes might have been put on. But like the Python films, very rarely you get a Monty Python TV repeat, but the films are on quite a lot. So that's what gets the next generation. So I think with a film, the next generation would have picked up on the Goodies, and they would have been better remembered, as opposed to just old guys in their 40s, just about still.
Just a quick shout out, because Emma Webb is watching.
Hello, Emma.
And she's
Congratulations, Emma.
Competition.
She won the Doctor Who CD the other day. So yes, wonderful. I'm not signed it yet. I will sign it, I promise.
Okay, so question from Fiona. She says, is she correct in saying that your shared lovely friend Norma Mitchell appeared in the first ever episode of The Goodies, The Tower of London?
He wasn't in the first episode. He was certainly in a couple. Or was he in it? No. maybe he was in the first episode. Oh, actually, maybe he was. I wasn't Gerton Klauber. I think Gerton Klauber was in it. George Baker was the main guest star. They always had a big guest star in the episodes. Certainly the first four years or 4 series of the Goodies. Norman's in the Goodies are all okay. He's like a town crier. He's also Henry McGee's henchman in a couple of episodes. I think he did 4. And at the same time he was doing, was it Wurzel Gummidge or something? I remember Norman telling me that they were down on location in Norfolk or something. And because he was doing a local show as well, he got more attention than the Goodies. But yeah, he definitely was in I think 4 episodes, Norman. Brilliant character actor. He has the distinction of, I think, having at least 1 episode of every great 70s sitcom. He's in Up Pompeii, and he's in Yes Minister, and he's in this, that and the other, you know, Ain't Off Hot Mum and all those, with his son, Christopher.
Okay. Well, Barnaby Eaton-Jones
Hello,
says,
Barnaby.
can you recall your first memory of seeing the Goodies on television, and did you gravitate towards one of them originally?
Yeah, my favourite was Bill as a kid. I must have been the scruff bag. In my memory, you see, because it's the opening credits, and it's the kitten on the telecom tower, BT tower, that is. And Tim in drag in an episode called, oh gosh, Celia. Is it Celia? Episode 1, where he's like a nanny, he's like a sort of Mary Poppins nanny, and he falls into the. I'm laughing now. He falls into like a sort of lake thing. But that was in the opening credits, I think, for the entire run. So that sticks in my head. I want to say Kit and Con, but I wouldn't have seen that go out on its first transmission. It might have been a repeat or something. That was a Montreux entry. But yeah, it's the theme tune, and it's was it Tim with the old medieval armour coming down and on an old gymnasium horse thing, and Bill's trousers getting blown up and exploding with the dust. It's all those clips from the opening credits. That's what sticks in my head. And I just knew I loved it. I just laughed like a drain. I just loved it so much. It was just stupid and pratfalls and silly, and I just adored it. I still do. It's still my favourite comedy show of all time.
Well, Chris Stratton says we need repeats of Banana Man.
Oh, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. I love Banana Man. That is, of course, all 3 Goodies doing that. They did. See, that's the thing. They did reunite. That was early 80s, just after the ITV series. Number 29, Acacia Road. Eric. A boy with a boy with a secret. So Tim.
That was it,
Tim
yeah.
played Eric. Graham was Banana Man, the alter ego of Eric, and Bill was everybody else. I think he was Crow, and he popped up. That was brilliant. They also did a radio version. If you never ever heard this may be on YouTube too. I've got an old C90 of this. They did Billy Bunter on radio because it was a dream project of Bill. So Bill plays Billy Bunter. Graham's the headmaster, and Tim is like all the other posh kids in it. So they did that together as well. So they love working together. I mean, it was just a good unit, you know. And as far as I know, they never fell out. It was quite a dream partnership, those 3.
Okay, well, leading quite nicely onto this, Robert Simpson asks, were the Goodies involved in any way with the Banana Man film that was being touted a couple of years ago?
Very good question. Yeah, Bill told me they were approached about it. I hope they would have done a little cameo in it somewhere. It was a live action, wasn't it? I think it was supposed to be a live action film. I can't remember. There was talked about a lot. It's pre-production hell somewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, Bill was approached. They must have had some sort of rights to it. They didn't write it for sure, but they must have had some sort of stake in the actual ownership of it. They were very proud of that, but they all loved cartoons, you see. I mean, Bill always said that the Goodies was Buster Keaton meets Tom and Jerry. So there's lots of cartoon stuff in it. And lots of sort of Warner Brothers, Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner sort of gags. And I remember, sorry, we should do another one of this because I love this show. But there was a bit, I think it's Kit and Kong, when they're dressed as mice. What else? With a huge hypodermic needle, and they ride the trandom. I think it's got like a hot air balloon on top of it, and they ride a trandom, and they wanted to achieve that thing that you get in Roadrunner cartoons when Wile E. Coyote's running after Roadrunner, and Roadrunner zips over a sort of canyon, and the Roadrunner realises there's no road under his feet, and he does that and then drops down. You know what I'm doing there? They wanted to get that effect on the Goodies, on this Kit and Kong. So they had this like sort of 8 foot tall thing, and they couldn't get rid of the wires, and it looked really bad. And then this is when Bill said to me, this is when I knew I'd cracked up. I turned to their director, Jim Franklin, genius Jim Franklin. Bill said, I turned to Jim and he said, well, why can't we just do it ourselves? We could do it like 2 foot above and just... And I said, no, I can't do it because I'm not a cartoon character. They started to believe it. I mean, they got hurt. They really got hurt. I went through all the BBC files for the second book I did on the goodies, and they got really injured because they would do all their own stunts, and it was physical work. Anyway, I digress.
Okay, so Toby says he was there at the NFT night. He said what a great night it was.
It was, yeah.
He said, why did they finish?
Well, that night, or
I'm guessing in general.
In general, well, they didn't want to finish. I mean, they went to ITV. I'll make this brief. It's in the book. But basically, the BBC. The story goes the BBC had a budget for a comedy fantasy thing, and they wanted to make Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And they said, if the goodies wouldn't mind waiting for a year or 18 months for that next slot, the next year. And I think I think Bill and Graham were both going through quite messy divorces at that time and needed some money, and ITV made them an offer. And Tim to his dying day actually was really regretful about going to ITV. Although the series is really quite good, it didn't do as well, and they dropped it after one series. But I think Graham told me they made more money from that one series than the entire 10 years at the BBC, because they were treated, with respect. And I love the ITV series, but that was why. And then once you go, it's like the old story like Morecambe and Wise and Benny Hill. Once you go over to the other side to commercial TV, the BBC have got long memories, and that's Bill's convinced that's why they wouldn't repeat it, because they went to ITV. So that's why. But, as I say, the repeats in Australia certainly kept the momentum going. And then the thing is, I think there's a quote in that book, I think Graham says, we never actually broke up because we never stopped it ourselves. It was just stopped for us, really.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once a goodie, always a goodie. Sorry, go on.
Well, Fiona says, do you remember the appearance in Multicoloured Swap Shop in May 1979?
No, but imagine it's in the book. God, you've got a copy. You've been looking this up. I'm going to look it up because I've got it here. I don't remember, but they must have been doing something promoting the last series on BBC. I'd imagine. Multicoloured Swap. It's not even here, is it? Multicoloured Swap Shop. I can't even find it. Is it in the book, Fiona? I'm talking to her like she's on the phone here. I can't remember. No, I can't remember. But I know they did loads of things at that time, like Disney Time and all that stuff. They did bits and bobs because they were employed by the BBC, so they would do all those summertime specials and that sort of stuff, But no, you beat me. Ask Fiona what they did, because it must be in the book somewhere, but I can't find it.
I'm sure she'll type a
Okay, she'll
message.
type it. Okay, fine, go for it.
Okay, Jen Govey's she shared a story here, which she said, funny enough, when she worked at Woolworths in Maidenhead in 1989-ish, she sold Tim Brooke-Taylor Pinocchio on VHS.
Did you?
She was too shy to talk to him, but just as he was leaving, she goofily blurted out, "I love the goodies," and he gave her the biggest smile and said thanks. So there we go. That's cute.
A beautiful story. No, I didn't know that. Oh, I love it. Oh, that's a lovely thing. He was the nicest. Absolute. Tim was just lovely bloke.
And then Tim was in a great episode of One Foot in the Grave.
He was. He was great in everything, Tim. I was actually talking about cartoons. Sorry, that's an interesting question, and I'll get back to it. But about Pinocchio, whoever side you want, and cartoons. Tim also did a program called Cartoon Alphabet on Channel 4, which I loved, and that was my education into classic, really pioneering cartoons like Gertie the Dinosaur, like 1900s and that sort of stuff, and also foreign sort of language cartoons like he showed all these Hungarian cartoons, and it was a revelation, this show. So I talked to him quite a lot about cartoons. So I'm quite proud to know the person that sold him a VHS of Pinocchio. That's made my night. Yeah.
So let's just pick up One Foot in the Grave. He was in an episode of that. Do you remember that?
They got some good. I can't remember the plot line of it now, but I know he was definitely in it, and so was Eric Idle. Obviously did the theme tune and wrote the theme tune. And Peter Cook did one, but no, I can't remember what his character was now. But it will come to me.
Okay.
I won't look it up, but it won't be in the book, will it? Well, it should be in the book, but This is fast becoming. I remember there was a thing that Bill did that I didn't put in the book, and he changed and he put the incomplete goodies on the front. One foot in the grave. Here we go. Oh, 1 second. But talk amongst yourselves a minute. Oh, it's a big article. The final showdown. Oh, of course he was in that. Oh, yes, I meant he was. I remember he's brilliant in it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, buy it on DVD. I'm not going to read that. I do that a lot. Jem will testify. I've not read this since I did the proofread in like 2000. So I do tend to, it's quite sad, refer to my own books a lot. Because, oh, that's right, that's what happened. Yeah. Okay, go
on. Okay, right.
I can't remember it all, you know.
I'm having computer issues
here.
here.
Oh, are you? Okay, fine. Shall we talk amongst ourselves then?
It's okay. We'll be okay. Let me just get back to the questions.
Okay, I've seen one that's relevant to what we're just talking about here. I think that's about Gideon, isn't it? Who's asked that?
Remember Chris Stratton.
Yes.
Remember Gideon.
Oh no, it's Chris, my lovely new pal who's on Instagram as the comedy collector, because he put up a lovely picture of Tim with Gideon. Gideon, if you don't know, was a European. So I'm in my fly. A European cartoon about a duck called Gideon. And Tim Brooke-Taylor did all the voices for the British translation of it. And I would have been about 9, I think, when that came out. And I wrote Tim a letter. I think Fiona started writing. My sister started writing fan letters to all sorts of people. I think she wrote to the goodies. I've got one from mid-70s that Fiona must have written for. Oh, it's my phone. It might be a job. And signed by all 3 of them from way back in the day in the 70s. But then I wrote a separate letter to Tim about Gideon the duck. And he was so sweet. I mean, I was a kid, right? So he wrote this. He signed this portrait of himself. To Robert, best wishes. Tim Brooke-Taylor, and little PT, I think it's in the book actually, P2O, on the back of it, he says, because I asked for Gideon's autograph, this is a duck, right? Cartoon duck to boot. And Tim wrote on the back, said, I'm afraid that Gideon can't send you his autograph because he finds it very hard to hold a pen in his webbed feet. And I thought, well, to take the effort, and he could have just like, oh, whatever, silly old thought, but he preserved this kid's fantasy, you know. It was lovely. I thought, and I reminded him about that, and he sort of remembered. He probably didn't, but
must have got
exactly, yeah, thousands of Gideon fans. Yeah, no, it was a good set. I like that though. Yeah. Anyway.
What was his last appearance? His last interview he gave? Would it have been?
Wouldn't it? Last interview would have been Bristol, but then he was so busy. He was doing a stage tour of Clue. With Rory Bremner and Marcus Brickstock. So I think it was something crazy. So he did 4 different shows at Bristol over the last weekend of January. He did one show this year. Oh gosh, yeah, 2020, where this T-shirt came from. I'll put my phone on. I do beg your pardon. That's very unprofessional of me. But
it's all going on today.
I know, it's Tuesdays are my busy days. I've never worked. I've got to say, I've never worked so bleeding hard in my life than during this lockdown. I'm never off. Yeah. So they did 4 shows. Robin interviewed him about last the 1948 show, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some other point. Marty Feldman, John Cleese, and Graham Chapman, and Tim, where the original 4 Yorkshiremen came from, which Tim co-wrote. He did a show with Baz and Graham Garden and Colin Sell with Rob Brydent about Clue. He did the Goodies show with the 3 of them together, and one other show. What else did he do? Oh, I know, he did. I'm sorry, I haven't. I'm sorry, I can't say. I'm sorry, I'll read that again. Reunited with Graham and Bill and Barnaby, who'd been touring with Tim. So he did 4 shows, but I think he'd been like in Woking on the Thursday night, and then he did those 4 his weekend off. And then he went off to like Wolverhampton to do one on the Monday night. I mean, he was all over the place. He worked really. He loved it though. The thing about Tim was he had such a talent to amuse. He liked nothing more than just the laughter of an audience. So he would happily schlep around the country to do shows, and he was so good and so funny. And my mate Richard Dacre, who's an academic popular culturist, he always maintained. I mentioned this to Tim on stage once and made him wink and smile. He maintains forget Peter Cook and Stephen Fry and all the other John Cleese. There's only one genius to come from the Cambridge Footlights, and that's Tim Brooke-Taylor. So yeah, but I mean, he was a brilliant comedian and an absolutely smashing bloke. So there you go.
Did they enjoy doing Banana Man?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we covered that, but yeah, they did. They loved doing cartoons. They also didn't have to learn the script over because they could just read it, right? Fiona mentioned, I think, Multicolour Swap Shop or something that they were on. They also did a couple of Blue Peters. There's definitely one where they do an appearance promoting Banana Man. and there's some guy, it might be Simon Groom or one of the presenters, who's dressed as Banana Man. It's quite embarrassing. But the three goodies seem to be loving doing it. So yeah.
Do you know why they moved to ITV? Did you say
Money.
this? Money. Okay,
Yes.
there we go.
Money and frustration with the BBC's tardiness.
Okay, so Andy Straw says, I heard that Bill does an impersonation of Louis Armstrong.
He hated Louis Armstrong. Go on.
It's on the ISIRTA. Is it right there?
I'm sorry, I'll read that again.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's a long title, so people do. It's like Imar. It's that man again. No, it's
forgive
okay. Don't worry. No.
lack of knowledge here.
He wrote all the songs for that. Of course, so we must cover Bill as a songwriter. I did a thing at Bristol Slapstick, whenever year it was, 2 years ago probably, where it was just me and Bill on stage talking about the goodies and music, because he was very proud. And there was one point, I think 1975, where Bill was the fourth best-selling songwriter in the country. W.E. Oddie sold hundreds and hundreds. Well, the goodies did, obviously, but Bill did the lion's share of the singing.
Well, interestingly, so Andy's question goes on to actually ask you: do you think Bill considers himself more of a writer than a comedy actor, or a bird watcher?
Bird watcher. Yeah.
That's how I know him.
Well, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He's a polymath. They're all polymaths. Bill certainly loves writing scripts. He wrote a lot of the Doctor in the House TV shows in the late 60s, early 70s, and obviously wrote. It was the famous thing was it was the goodies were written by Graham Garden and Bill Oddie with Tim Brooke-Taylor, and the send up of that was somebody mentioned the Goodies and the Beanstalk Christmas special with John Cleese at the end, kids program and all that, and that one says written by Graham Garden and Bill Oddie with Tim Brooke-Taylor's biro, because they always said that Tim didn't write very much. But Tim was always very truthful about that. He said he wasn't a quick enough writer, where Bill and Graham could write really, but Tim was more like a sort of interpreter. I always said to him, it's like Al Jolson used to get credits on his songs, although he didn't write them. But it would be like by whoever, George Gershwin and Al Jolson. And Al Jolson claimed that credit because his interpretation made that song different. And I always say that Tim's interpretation of Bill and Graham's scripts justify writing credit.
Okay, so Jonathan Sloman's here, and he says,
Jonathan.
what can you tell us about the episode of Disney Time hosted by the Goodies?
The Holy Grail. I mean, to be honest, most people who host Disney Time are actually on Operation Yewtree now, but the Goodies aren't, of course. I've never seen it. I know they were doing the usual thing, just going around. Was it Whipsnade or something? Hold on, forgive me. There's a lot in this book. You know, I mean,
It's quite a chunk.
They all work really hard, but I think it was like Whipsnade or some zoo or something, and they would have shown clips. But I can tell you, this is just basically you can just buy this book and read it for an hour rather than talk to me. But
while you're doing that, actually,
go on.
just while everybody's here and I have everybody's attention, we will be launching, hopefully next week, a Facebook shop. So if there are any of these books, we're sorting through the archives.
My loft. I've been spending this lockdown sorting out my loft because it's creaking with books and CDs. So I'm going to see what I've got. I think I've got a couple of goodies books up there. So yeah. But, so
you can come to us. You can purchase the book directly, and you will sign it for no extra charge.
No extra. I've always been very happy about it, because if you buy the book you get a free autograph. You know, try and find the rare unsigned copies of my books. They're the ones that are worth money. But anyway, so Disney Time, it would have been the usual thing. The other holy grail of Disney Time I wanted to get hold of is Tom Baker's. Obviously the Doctor Who nut as well, and Tom did it in character as the Doctor in around about 1975, I think. So man, probably the same. Cause this was the big thing. Disney Time was huge. People forget how massive Disney Time was. Two reasons. A, because you couldn't just buy, Snow White or 101 Dalmatians on VHS because the Disney vaults were locked tight, because every 7 years they would reissue them. I remember going to see Dumbo at the cinema in the 80s because you just couldn't see it on television, right? So it was you're looking at me like, yes.
I don't like Dumbo.
Well, whatever. The Jungle Book. Then you just couldn't see these films. So the fact that you could see clips from these 30, 40-year-old films was a big deal. So they were like Christmas and bank holidays and Easter. They were major events. I think that's probably why, apart from the fact that everybody works at Radio 1 is now in jail. It's sorry, I shouldn't say it. But I think the thing is because Disney became just too familiar. They Walt Disney when he was alive would never have released stuff onto TV like they did. He did the Disney Time, Wonderful World of Disney, those sort of things. But yeah, they lost their magic. I think those Disney films they became too familiar. So Disney Time became redundant. But I love that show. It's a very important part of my childhood.
Well, Bill is quoted as saying
Is Bill on? Hi, Bill.
about Monty Python. We were the Bay City Rollers and they were the Beatles. Do you agree?
No, not at all. No, I mean, I think when I first met him, I can tell you what it was actually now, because it was just after the Python 30th anniversary, so it would have been October 1999. I first met Bill around his house, and I think he just watched it, and he was saying something like, "God, we're not doing that next year." I think. Bill at his most candid said, and I agree with him, the Pythons at their best were better than the Goodies, but the Goodies were more consistently funny. So their half hours were all filler, no killer, or I rephrase that, all killer, no filler. Whereas Python, you could probably get maybe a good hour out of a 13.5-hour run. You know what I mean? I think Bill, the longer the time goes, Bill is prouder and prouder of the legacy of the Goodies. I mean, he certainly got very misty-eyed this year in Bristol because it was a packed house. And I mean, again, the ovation for these three monoliths of comedy was huge.
They were the Bootles, Chris Stratton.
The Bootles in the Goodies were all okay. Yeah, I think my allegory of that would be that. They were like Blur and Oasis. I would say the Beatles were Blur and the Goodies were Oasis. How about that?
Okay, I think that's fair enough. Okay, where did they get their name, the Goodies?
That's a really good question.
It's my brother.
I'm glad you asked that, Lawrence. It was a long process to work out what they were going to be called. They were doing a show called Broaden Your Mind just before. It was mainly Tim and Graham's, but Bill had come into it as a guest. And basically the Goodies is the alternative to the Baddies. That was the thing. They were going to be called Super Chaps 3 at one point. Super Chaps 3 was a sort of parody of all those Jerry Anderson titles. And I think, again, Bill probably still to this day had a little sketch. I think it's reproduced in the book or one of the books. And he drew this little picture of the three of them sort of stood on top of the globe. And it's prototyped the costumes. I mean, it's almost exactly as it was that he did this little sketch, and he's put the Goodies under it. So that was that. I mean, it's a title that I remember Tim saying became a bit of a curse. Cause it's like, oh, goody, sort of goody two shoes sort of thing. But and Bill likes it 'cause it sounds like a rock band. It sounds like the Beatles or the Stones, right? So he likes the Goodies.
Lane asks, do you think Kenny Everett was heavily influenced by the Goodies?
I absolutely was, yeah. Great point. And Tim did quite a lot of work with Kenny over the years. So yeah, he was. But Kenny was a fan of that music and that comedy. So he was a fan of the Beatles and the Goons and all that, as were the Goodies. So yeah, he's a lot of influence. A lot of influence on other people. Harry Hill stole their font. That's a title for a show, isn't it? Harry Hill stole their font. I mean, so the Harry Hill is the Goodies font. And you look at a lot of Vic and Bob stuff is very Goodie centric. And yeah, I mean, their legacy in terms of comedy, the young ones, the Rick and Ade stuff for sure, has a lot of it in there. So yeah, their shadow was very long. It was just that the BBC weren't showing them. But yeah, absolutely, Kenny was a fan of the Goodies. Well, as all fine, upstanding people are.
Lee's here from Florida.
Oh, bless you. Hello, Lee.
He said, having not lived in the UK for 25 years, do they ever do panto?
Oh, no, they don't. Yeah, absolutely. Tim was that's where I first met Tim in panto, and he was great. He loved playing baddies. I remember the first time, or one of the first times, he emailed me. He said, "This goodie is playing a baddie." He was playing Abenaza in Windsor. So yeah, Tim loved doing panto with Rod Hullanemu in the cast as well. I remember it well. I love pantomime. I used to, back when there were lots of old timers and lots of old variety turns still doing panto, I would do like panto crawls. There's a few good ones. Robin Asquith is always worth going to see. Rob's probably doing panto, if we're doing panto this season, who knows. and Cannonball. Always catch Cannonball. They are maestros of panto.
There we go. We might have virtual panto.
We
then,
may well do.
then
Oh, no,
there
we
you
won't.
go, Lee. You can watch
Well, we
virtual
saw
panto.
Jeff and Sue, didn't we, last season?
Heidi High's Jeffrey
Holland
Holland.
and Sue Pollard together doing Heidi High. That was amazing. Yeah. Dick Whittington.
I'm not sure if we've touched on this, but were any of the goodies close with the Monty Python guys?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, God, yes. Oh, God, my gosh. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes. Shall I elaborate? Tim Brooke-Taylor was at Cambridge with John Cleese and Graham Chapman. And both Tim and John were studying law, and so I remember him saying that John Cleese had suggested that the exam might include this question, so revise that stuff. And Brooke-Taylor being there and Cleese being there, Tim could look behind his shoulder and just say, "Thanks, John," because it was in the paper. So they were mates. Of course, yeah, absolutely. Contemporaries, yeah. And Graham was at Cambridge at the same time as Eric Idle. So they're doing footlights together. Fatlights even. Cambridge Footlights together. So absolutely. No, I mean, they interlaced all the time. If you buy my companion piece, the Monty Python Encyclopedia, you can see all the way.
That's what
we could do that next. At some other time. Yeah. They work together a lot. Absolutely.
Josh Barry has shared his interview that he did with Tim back in November.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, Josh. Yes, absolutely.
He says, how many times, did they reunite after...
Well, quite a lot. I mean, as I say, mine at the National Film Theatre was the first time in many years, and we did really well in terms of popularity and stuff. But they would always come. They didn't not like doing it, if that makes sense. They would get together for network DVDs, as I mentioned. Always Bristol slapstick. Sometimes Bill couldn't make Bristol, and sometimes Tim couldn't. I remember Tim was on holiday. Was it 2 years ago? 18, I think. But usually the three of them were together doing something, mainly not about themselves, mainly doing celebrations of Buster Keaton or, as I say, Bill doing his cartoons earlier this year. So yeah, they loved it. So I think they did like 7 or 8 shows for Bristol Slapstick alone. So I would say 20 times. Okay.
Yeah. All right then. Do you have a copy of The Little Book of Mornington Crescent?
I do. Somewhere. Why?
It's your sister.
It's my sister. Oh, God. Well, Morton Crescent. Okay, now I can say I'm probably going to usurp her a bit, but her husband David, who she mentioned, who came to this evening, it was very emotional for me because my dad had just had a heart attack. My dad had a heart attack in early 2000. So May 23rd, 2000 was the first time since his heart attack he actually went out. So it was quite a big deal for me. And Graham, being a doctor, was saying, it's okay if he takes it easy, And we all went into, obviously, the green room. And I was very proud because David, my sister's husband, loves Clue. And particularly, I think, was a big fan of Willie Rushner, who sadly passed away by 2000. But I introduced him to Graham Garden. And I remember him being so excited. I mean, because it's Graham Garden. I mean, this is a legend of world comedy. I mean, and nice people can be geniuses too, and the goodies were certainly both of those things.
Okay, Gavin asks a question. He says, is it true that Bill released a single that was released by a record label which was owned by John Peel?
Dandelion Records, yeah, absolutely. On Ilkley Moor Bartat. I've got Bill's solo album. I might find it. Hold on a second. Speaking of yourself, Distinctly Oddie. I know where this is. It's under. I sorted this out yesterday, right? Didn't I? Because I saw it from my vinyl the other day, and
yes. Robert Simpson has actually found a link to the 1993 Billy Bunter audios with the goodies.
Terrific.
If anyone is interested, so
yes.
Look through the comments,
Absolutely.
and Robert has shared that very kindly.
Brilliant.
We will try and maybe share it on one of our YouTube videos.
There it is. So that's Poly. This is Polydor Records. If you get hold of that, I'm not quite sure what Discogs are charging for this, but this is brilliant. Bill's solo album, Pre-Goodies, which is mainly a load of, I'm sorry I read that again, songs, signed by W.E. Oddie at the back there. Yeah, so there you go. That's a piece of genius. But yes, he did do a record with John Peel. There was a rumour going around that they beat John Peel up or something, and it's not true because John Peel appeared in at least one episode of The Goodies, an episode called Superstar, which was banned because it was a bit raunchy. It's all about, ironically, about 1970s pop excess, and John's in that. But I think he gave them a bad review for Black Pudding Bertha or something. and there was the story that Tim gave him a few harsh words at some record party, but that was about the extent of it. No, but John Peel was certainly a friend of Bill's. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, how much? What happened to the bike? Sorry.
Well, there you go. You see, there were several different bikes. There was one practical bike that actually did work. But I think what's the order? Tim's at the back, isn't he? So no, Tim's at the front. That's right. Tim's at the front. Then Graham. I think that's right. And then Bill behind. So Bill's pedal wasn't practical. So Bill would just like sort of pretend. So the lion's share was Tim driving the damn thing with the three of them on it. And it was bought by some guy that did like an expedition even across the Sahara Desert or something with it. So it was a charity thing. But there was always, they did a couple of reunions. They did a show Christmas, whenever that was, 2004, 2005, when the three of them, and they were on the bike again. So they would always get on. I remember I was talking to a pub before BT Batswood took me on for this. There was another publisher, I won't name who it is. I was talking to the editor there, and he said, do they still get on then? And I thought he meant, do they still get on the bike? And I was saying, yeah, they're pretty active, you know. And he goes, no, don't. I mean, do they still talk to each other? That's what he meant. But yeah, they would happily get on that bike, although it caused, like I said, it caused pain. They suffered for their art, and now it's your turn, as Neil Innes would say. Go on.
Okay, so right, I've lost a load of comments here.
Oh, that's a damn shame, Jem.
But we are getting towards the end.
These go so quickly. I'm going to check my phone as it's here, which I don't usually bring. Oh, it is getting near the end too.
Lisa is here.
Hello, Lisa.
Your agent.
Oh, hello, Lisa. Oh my gosh, my agent.
She's just popped in.
I thought, I know a few Lisa. Hello, Lisa. How you doing? Have you got a question?
Okay, right, I think we're at the last question, which is, do you remember seeing Tim in The Lady Killers in 1999 in Guildford? We had a drink with him, this is your sister, in the bar afterwards with Mum, Dad and David.
Yeah, I mentioned it in one of my YouTube films. I remember vividly, because I saw it 3 times. Because if you don't know, it's an Ealing film, and Tim was playing Professor Marcus, which was the Alec Guinness part. Again, this goodie's playing a baddie. He loved it. He loved playing. He was brilliant in it, actually. Dulcie Gray was the old woman, Mrs. Wilberforce, Mrs. Lopsided. And Brian Murphy was the major, with Cecil Parker's part. And we saw it in Guildford. I also saw it in Bexley on Sea. And I must have been researching the book. This must have been May 1999, I think Fiona said, didn't she? So yeah, a year before the book came out. So it took about a year and a bit to research the book. And I remember I was so excited and proud because I remember vividly seeing the show and loving it. And Tim coming into the bar with Brian Murphy, who I knew Brian, but he not as well, and he went to see some friends. And it's obviously crowded by people who'd just seen the show. And Tim made a beeline for us, and I thought, it's quite cool this. And we had a drink, and it was lovely. Yeah, I mean, he was a really good stage actor, and he loved doing that. So yeah, that was fond memories, that. But like I said, I saw him on stage so many times. He did as I say, a load of Ray Cooney farces, and I saw him in about 2 or 3 pantos and lots of Clue recordings and all that. But yeah, that was happy days. But smashing bloke.
Well. Andy Straw, thank you so much, Andy. You've prompted us. Saves me doing this job. He says thanks again to us both for another great Q&A, and thanks for taking the time to do this for these guys. Thank you for coming to watch us.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
Otherwise, it's just us sitting on the sofa with a glass of wine talking about this to each other. So.
Although I do like that as well. We watched Don't Lose Your Head last night, and I've seen it about 1 million times, and I love. We're watching all the carry-ons in order. If you're new to this channel, and it's great. So, but I love doing these. I really do, and they go so quickly. Seriously, I've only just got revved up with this. But I should say as well, if you have enjoyed it, tell your friends, to quote Frankie Howard, and you know. It's like the virtual show. If you've enjoyed the show, if you saw me at the Museum of Comedy or, I don't know, in a theatre in Leatherhead or something, and you saw me in the bar, you might buy me a drink. So if you've enjoyed it, we've got a GoFund page that lovely Gemma has set up for us.
Is very kindly what Andy's referred to. Thank you so much.
Andy.
It is pinned to the top of the page. Do watch out next week. We will have the shop launching. There are going to be some few surprises in there, I think. From the vault.
Find them in my loft. Yeah, it's quite exciting. I'm getting my merch table. I feel like Bob Dylan on tour or something. So that's really exciting. But yeah, I'm going to find a few bits and bobs from my loft and books and CDs and photographs and things. And yeah,
and please subscribe to the YouTube channel.
It's all for free, and there's giveaways. Emma Webb will testify she won Peer Pressure Doctor Who, starring Colin Baker and Roy Hudd, that I wrote.
I will get that in the post to you by the end of the week, Emma, I promise.
And you were thinking, do you want to mention what we thought about doing next week, or should we think on it and announce it in a day or two for next week's book club?
What's the preference? Do we want another carry-on theme? Maybe that's...
Carry On popular, yes. We thought about doing another Carry On because they were very popular a couple of weeks ago. So anyway, but we'll have a glass of wine after this. My sister always phones for like a debrief, so we'll have a glass of wine and we'll discuss it, darling.
Oh, hello, Susie. I just want to say hello to you.
Oh, hi, is that Susie? Sabrina Susie. Oh, God. I'm going to say it before we've got time.
Yeah.
Susie Dawkins, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Susie. Today, as a performer, glamour girl, actor, whatever you want to call her, Sabrina, whose real name was Norma Ann Sykes, was born this day in 1936. She's a real glamour girl. She's a sort of, I always call her sort of the British Jane Mansfield. She's in loads of comedy films of the 50s. Worked with Arthur Askey a lot. And Susie does my favourite Instagram page called The Fabulous Sabrina. And actually, just before we came on, Susie, it's beautiful. There's like a 4-minute colour footage of Sabrina in Australia with a couple of her songs over the top of it, and which I've never seen before, obviously because it's from a private collection. So as a special birthday treat, Susie's put that on, and it's lovely. So you're doing great work. I love Sabrina.
I followed her today.
Oh, good for you. Yeah,
There we go.
She's great. Because see, Gemma's the director of the films, and I mentioned Sabrina in today's YouTube film, and Gem's the one that drops those photographs in so fluently. So yeah, we found a nice picture online. Hope you approve of that, Susie. But yes, spread the word about Sabrina. She's an absolute sort of forgotten hero, really. I love her dearly.
Okay, just to finish on. Get Benny Hill. Benny Hill's still popular. Carry
we did
On.
Benny last week. Yes. Oh, Carry On. Okay. Yeah.
Marty.
Marty, yeah, okay. There's a lot of Tim Brooke-Taylor. Without Tim Brooke-Taylor, that Marty book would have been about a pamphlet. I'll explain when we do Marty, but yeah, thanks to Tim for that.
Monkhouse.
Never written a book about Bob Monkhouse, but there's always time. There's always time.
What lockdown's about?
Terry Thomas you mentioned today, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, Terry Thomas is a possibility.
I've done Terry Thomas. But anyway, let's have a chat. We'll come back to you. But please, every day during lockdown, we're doing a little film I recommend stuff on Talking Pictures, or, you know, whatever is coming up, or anniversaries, or I sometimes even sing. So if you want me to stop singing, please throw some money to the GoFundMe account.
On that note...
Oh, yes, okay, go on, then.
We will end
to Mr. W.E. Oddie. Or not.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, it's crashed.
No, it's YouTube wanted to show me adverts. I don't want adverts.
Don't adverts when you can have Bill Oddie. Hey! There's
Come on,
They
everybody.
want you to sing.
Skipping time.
There's a great... I need the dungarees. There's also... on the video, when they did this on Top of the Pops, one of Tim's ambitions was, well, a couple of ambitions. One was to score a goal for England in the World Cup, which he never achieved at Lash. But the other one was to perform with Pan's People on Top of the Pops, which he did achieve because of Bill's song. So he was very proud of that. And it's Graham, if you don't, Funky Gibbon, and he has a single furry glove on when he does that. He did that. He was the person, the pop prince himself, Michael Jackson, stole that off Graham Garden. The single, no, didn't really. But look at me, she's so naive. Single.
But come on, we're all like Michael Jackson now.
Yeah.
Who would have thought gloves and face masks were back in?
That's the only thing we like Michael Jackson in. But anyway, no, but it's been a treat. And as I say, please, buy the goodies book, but also download the songs. There's a couple of really good compilations of the singles that Bill has written sleeve notes for. So go on to Amazon and get those. They're always worth. And also, I must shout out Network. Thank the Lord, they were very loyal to the goodies when a lot of people weren't prepared to invest them into releasing DVDs. There's now a complete collection of not only the 10 years of the BBC show, but also the one ITV, so you can get the complete goodies. So I think it's about 50 odd quid now, which is like, 90 episodes or so, whatever it was. It's a lot of comedy for your buck there. So you know what, this year, comedy is the answer, and for me, you can't get much more comedy than the goodies. So thank you.
There we go.
See you later.
Good night.
Bye bye.